Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. Today is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, and basically the topic will be ideas for sketching, I think is what I'll call it. But to begin with, welcome back if you're returning, welcome if you're new. I sketch and post every day, and I set 5-minute timers to build a sketching habit and to focus. And yesterday's video about tips on starting and keeping a sketching habit explained more in depth, so maybe at some point I might just provide a link to that. And I started a 5-minute timer. So the first thing is I wanted to show where I ended up with this sketch. So if you watched yesterday's video, although I was talking about like tips on starting a sketching habit, I was also drawing this out of imagination. And this goes into the idea of like what to sketch. So I sketched it out of imagination, and it showed me that I didn't really know like how to draw a horse. So I'll kind of talk about, I'll draw like some of that, and like there's like a lot of other things, so I'm just kind of getting warmed up here. But yeah, like I learned that, well, I also used, the pens that I used was a ballpoint pen. This one, just a ballpoint pen, but I like it. I actually like sketching with it. And then this other pen, the felt tip, so that's what I use for this. And as I'm talking, I'm just kind of get my hand warmed up here. So yeah, I learned that I want to do more horse studies because I don't know them that well, and they're very interesting, like they're fascinating, especially in terms of sketching. But I think like all animals are pretty interesting. I want to draw them more often. But yeah, this happened to go with the like the story I'm working on. But so this kind of acted as concept art along with just having fun and practice and stuff. But yeah, like I said, I usually don't use ballpoint, but I do like it. I mean, there is a glare in the sense that like you can, like at certain angles, it's not like a matte finish. But I like it. I like it's kind of like a pencil. But yeah, I also noticed that, one, I don't know how the legs work. So I guess I could go over like what I would practice, and then I'll kind of talk about some other things, or like how to go about practicing. So I noticed I didn't really know the forms and the anatomy or the proportions, but like kind of, because I mean I have sketched them before, but I don't like really know it. I'm not like confident. So there's that. So that kind of gives me like what to work on. And then the other thing is I chose a perspective that was kind of challenging, and that's because I started with the head instead of kind of blocking in the whole thing, which is okay. I mean, that's what a sketchbook is for, to teach you these things. And I'm not saying that the sketch is bad or anything. I just know, like, I mean, obviously I can do better. But, so the perspective was tricky. The horse itself was tricky, but then, like, also the leg movements, and then the fact that, like, it is actually in perspective. And again, that's just because I had drawn this head first. If you watch, like, if you want to see the process. And and that's okay. I mean, I was just drawing it out of imagination. And if you're drawing it, and so what happened was, from yesterday's video, I went and looked up like reference, and basically had to make the reference fit my picture, which again isn't bad. So that's why I want to show this, because let's say that because there's plenty of like horse photos and also tutorials and stuff, but if you were to just draw it exactly like that, it would look pretty boring. I mean, it would look like you drew it from a tutorial or a photo, and it wouldn't necessarily, which would be fine if that's what you're wanting, but since I'm making it into like this original character, OC, for my story, it's not really, I like that it's stylized. So that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. I have a lot of stuff to talk about, but going back to the idea of like ideas for sketching, well, that's one idea, is to, like, if you look at yesterday's video, like how far I got before the end of the, so that took about maybe 20-30 minutes. And then if you compare this, since I drew over it, you can compare like the difference. And so what happens is, it gives you something to sketch. It gives you something to come back and like want to actually work on it, which is what I'm doing now that I'm getting warmed up again. So between this video and like yesterday's video, I think it could be really helpful to kind of see like my process of sketching. But this is pretty much, I mean, I wouldn't go into too much more detail. Then the next thing I would do, along the lines of like knowing what to sketch, or like ideas on what to sketch, is, so I started from imagination here, but then what I could do is kind of study from, so I started from imagination, and then looked up reference to kind of fill in the details, because there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, like how any of this worked. The tack, I guess, is called. The horse tack. So I'm learning that too. That's the other thing. I mean, sketch stuff that you're interested in, and it helps you to remember. Put this in the camera here. So then the other way is to take what you learn and then look up, go ahead and just look up some kind of reference. And you could, so like I said, I like this ballpoint pen. I'm not always going to use it. That's the other thing too for ideas for sketching, is to just use like kind of a different pen. If you're used to pencil, use a different kind of lead, or switch to pen. Or if you're used to pen, then use a different kind of pen. So what I'm doing here is, I just looked up some reference like off of Pinterest, like for a horse's head. And I'm gonna take what I learned from yesterday, which again, it was from imagination, but it was actually not that far off. It was like the details are off, but it really wasn't like that far off. And I'm just gonna take what I learned and look at reference and kind of combine them. Combine the two things. So kind of like I'm redrawing it, which isn't a bad thing, because it's like working out. I mean, you don't just do one push-up and say you're done forever. You're just gonna do push-ups. So this is one way of studying, and also another way of like filling the sketch page. And so what you can do is create a like a reference sheet for yourself. So I have more confidence because I did do like the sketch from yesterday, so I'm just kind of combining. Now that I'm looking at something, it makes it that much easier. But, so that's some ideas. So it's a combination of like the theme, like the horse, which is kind of an unfamiliar thing. Sometimes, like if you're starting out, just kind of learn all of it. Like, I mean, start sketching animals. You might find that that's kind of your specialty. Some people are really good at it. Like I'm not. Like I'm okay. Like I could learn. You might learn like what comes naturally to you. So yeah, you can take it about this far, and then, so that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one and keep on going, and then just kind of come back to it. Like one thing is that like the neck area and stuff I would want to study. So you can see that it's a, can't tell what's on the camera here. So it's a combination of, like I fixed the anatomy more. But again, it's not like, I mean, this is stylized, but it's kind of cool. I kind of like it. Plus it's supposed to be in a fantasy world, so the horses aren't going to be exact. The other thing, so I just placed the character, one of the characters from my story here, basically the main character, but like I overworked it just because I just drew in this sword with like a pen, which is okay. I mean, it's a sketch. So from here, I wouldn't call this like a finished illustration. I would either, most likely if I wanted to redraw this, so I would either scan it in and work on it on the computer, but I would really only do that if I were gonna paint it on the computer. I wouldn't fix like the pen and ink part. If I were gonna fix like the inking, I would just scan it and then print it out lightly and then draw over it. And that's why I like to just go ahead and go kind of crazy with the sketching, because you can always dial it down, but like just kind of letting your ideas and experimenting and stuff, that's really where you're going to get a lot of good things that are unique to yourself. So hopefully that helped with some ideas for sketching, but like let's continue. So I'm going to flip through. So this is kind of like a flip through of a sketchbook, but not really, because I'm still working on all these pages. And that's the other idea, is that I like to leave myself, so I'll mention if I made a video. Pretty much I've made videos on all of these sketchbook pages, but like not on all of them, but like I made videos about these, and I can't link all of them because it's basically in chronological order. So just kind of go through the thumbnails of the videos. So yeah, I like to leave kind of like bookmarks for myself to go in and play around with, like this world map thing here. And I like the color, and I'll probably add some color to this world map, and like I have other stuff to sketch here. So that's the other thing. So this one has a variety. I mean, you have, so these were all from photos, but then this is from imagination, because once you kind of get going, you kind of have like ideas. So that's the other thing. You can just do studies. And so instead of animals, this study was like landscapes or environments. And then from imagination, I just threw in like some kind of wizard type character here, traveling, a traveler. And then this kind of became, again, I made videos of this, but became kind of like a world map. And I bought some new pens and markers that I'll probably just kind of play around with on here, while at the same time making like the page look interesting to me, like making it look nice, like for myself, that I could refer to. So this could be a good way for me to refer to like how to do some coloring, like color studies, like the effect of it. And again, a lot of this goes towards my story, the world that I'm building. So kind of the same with this, just kind of have it be like a reference sheet, and then I could always look at this or scan it in. So next is it's the third page of my mini comic, which I haven't, I made a video of this, but it was, I think I had only worked on this part. So I had mentioned in another video that I kind of overworked these first two panels here, but not really. It wasn't really, like, I did overwork it, but then I ended up basically redrawing it. So, but I like it. It's a different kind of style, but that's what this mini comic was for. It was for me to figure out like potential style that I want to use. So that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. And so I'll probably do a video, so I had another video called completing page 2. So I might do a video where I just focus on completing it. But we'll see. But I do want to work on it and finish it and then have like a 3-page mini comic. So that's a pretty good thing. So it's basically this character, but it's a good thing to have if you're creating your own character and your own world and stuff. And this is just kind of like, I would call this, like when I finish it, it'll be an actual comic. It's not going to be practice or anything, although it does let me practice. Another idea, so that's another idea, is that do a comic. Like it doesn't have to be 3 pages. Like 3 pages is kind of a lot for me because I'm not used to drawing comics, but 1 page would be good. Like I could have approached this as 1 page and that helps me to finish it. But then if you do 3 pages, they kind of have to tell a story. So on this page, I didn't do a video for this, but you could have a theme. So I just put down like dark fantasy because the story that I'm working on is dark fantasy. So part of that is like the motifs and like what I think I want to include, some of the motifs. So we could sketch something real quick. I'm gonna look up, now these things I just kind of looked up because I thought of it, like a castle or like spooky branches or like a raven. I'm gonna look up, well, the thing with Pinterest, it's kind of lame. I mean, I know other people have talked about, or you may have noticed, it's, if you look up something like dark fantasy, you're gonna get a bunch of AI stuff. So I'm gonna look it up and just see what happens. But yeah, it's just like a bunch of AI garbage. It's just so like, it's so boring. It's like once you get past like the initial like, whoa, like that's very detailed. It's just, yeah, it's just really generic. So that's why I just kind of look up, let me look up an owl. And part of that is because, yeah, I feel like it kind of fits the theme, but also I haven't really drawn them. So there's that. So I just looked up something real quick. And so part of this, as far as like the idea for like sketching, is the idea of like the sketchbook spread. And there's different approaches, so we'll do some sketching in this video. I feel like this video it'll be focused, but might be a little eclectic. But really, it's just about the ideas for sketching. Is really like the main thing. So one thing with my videos is that, so as I'm sketching this owl here, I'm just gonna kind of talk. And as you're watching, that could be helpful too. I mean, this is just a way of sketching without a lot of like guidelines. But yeah, my videos is one, I don't want to make them into an excuse for me to do my work, because like the comic or like the books that I'm writing, they're my work, and making these videos is part of my work. It has become like part of my work. But the videos are not like the reason why I work on the books or like, you know, like the comic and stuff. So yeah, I don't want to make it seem like the videos are really about keeping a daily sketching habit and just posting daily in this kind of way and just getting better at that. Which sometimes will overlap with like stuff I'm working on, but sometimes it'll just be other stuff. It'll be how to sketch, how to do studies, or like how I do certain things, or how to manage projects. So that's 5 minutes. I won't spend too much time on anyone's sketch because, like I said, it's not about it's not really about that. But so it's about just kind of coming up with ideas, different approaches, and also like how to sketch. I mean, this is just one way, and I could use a ballpoint pen, but like normally I like this look, this kind of matte finish look. I use some brush with it. So part of it is just like the look of the ink. So you could even just do like a 5-minute sketch like this and come back to it. That could be like a good way to sketch things. So that's one idea. Again, sticking with the idea of like having a page be sort of your own kind of reference and like a topic or a theme. This one is like figure drawing, and so I can kind of go over that real quick. I don't think I did a video for this, but I did a video about like gesture drawing, and this is kind of gesture drawing. So I'm going to look up figure poses, like whatever, and I'll find just kind of a random picture, and then so as I'm talking about these things, I could do a more detailed like video. Just let me know. I mean, I'm gonna do whatever idea I have anyway, but yeah, like let me know if something is especially interesting, and since not that many people like are commenting, there's a better chance I'll actually be able to get to it like pretty quickly. So this is a mixture of gesture and like proportion is sort of the theme. So I'll do a quick one where basically I'm finding the gesture of it, like, and by gesture it's really like the shape, like the feel. And then I'm just using proportion to kind of basically, when I'm drawing from imagination, it's going to help. So I'm taking notes of, if I were to do this from imagination, like what would actually matter. So the angle of the head would matter, the proportion would matter, like that. And this is the stuff that's going to like be in your your subconscious as you're drawing from imagination. But it's not just from drawing from imagination. If you are just drawing from reference or from life, I mean, you're still going to be using your brain, your memory. So there's a lot of different things. You don't have to see, I'm adding shadow, but you don't have to add all the shadow. I'm just doing that because that's also a helpful thing to kind of know, like the pattern of light and shadow. So yeah, just keep it at a kind of a gesture kind of thing, and then you can figure out the gesture of the folds. And then also you can come back to it. Like, might want to know this kind of thing. So yeah, that's like an idea. Just do some gesture drawings with this. Next we have, so on this page, so here's another idea, is again drawing from imagination. And this one is about construction. So I'll start another 5-minute timer. And we'll just kind of, I'll just go through a few more pages. So here, this was about like how to draw from imagination using like construction, and you can come up with whatever method. I mean, part of this is me figuring out like the style that I like. So from what I can tell here, and these kinds of things, like they take practice. So this is not going to be from reference, but you could always go back like with reference and like add details, but it'll look more like your style. But it looks like what I was going for here is to find the midpoint, and then so draw like a top and a bottom line, a center line, find this midpoint, and basically draw something up here, like, which is whatever, like shape, because profiles all have different shapes, and then use that as kind of the nose. And then I guess right here again you can mess around with like the proportion, and then mess around with like that kind of thing. So that's what that was about. So you want to, so these are just notes for myself, that if I wanted to draw profiles, I could do it this way if I felt like it. Like that. So I don't think I made a video of this, but it's just an idea. On this page I made a video, pretty long video, where I talked about my this is like an OC, and then my RPG origin story is what the video was called. So it was like an hour long, and I added to it. I think I got as far as like this part, and so I added to it, and it's all from imagination because I have all this like these other sketches to look at, and so I can kind of play around with that. So in this, so on this page, I was looking off of reference, and so the way that kind of carries over to like kind of drawing from imagination. What if I wanted to draw this OC from imagination? I mean, I might just I'm actually going to use a ballpoint pen, because part of it is you can see that I used like different pens, and that's just part of like my preference, sort of my own thing. But then also because some pages I don't want to have like different looks. This one's okay because it's kind of mixed, because I had to use like some whiteout to fix mistakes, and like I almost had to do that here. But I mean, sometimes you have to just mess up, and I mean, that's how you get better. Let me put the reference away. I was looking at it. So yeah, I'm going to draw this character, but change it up a little, but kind of, so you can see that the like the proportions and stuff came from like the studies. And so that's one way to sort of come up with like the character, and this can be kind of a reference sheet. Well, it is going to be a reference sheet. But it helps out for a comic, or if you're writing a story. So yeah, just some ideas. Just wanted to show how to use different ideas. So that's 5 minutes. Let's start another one. I think I have one more page I wanted to go over. But yeah, once you get warmed up, I mean, you kind of just want to keep drawing, so. But yeah, this is a good way to have like a reference sheet. So finally, on this page, so this is just some face studies. I'll do one more. I'll do like a guy. I'll do an Asian guy, because I had wrote down like skin tones, and I wanted to figure out like how to do skin tones with pen and ink. So I mean, I could just use myself as reference for this, but I'll look up something. Sometimes it's better to look at photo reference rather than a self-portrait, because you can be a little bit more objective. So this one is going to be for the skin tone, like that's like the main thing. So I'm just going to look up something like kind of in between. So you got like pale, but then like dark, and there's like different ways of going about it. And again, I'll use, I'll just to have fun, because I'm going to finish up this video. So I'll start off with a brush. And do it without like construction. So to do that, like basically it depends, like if you want the heads to be kind of the same, like kind of look the same on the page, then it would be good to kind of figure out how big the head will be. And then from here you can, like this is the top of the head, then you can kind of figure out like the proportion. But then depending on the tool that you're using, I mean, if you're using a brush, it's gonna like be more broad strokes. But then I'm gonna go in, like this one I didn't go in like with the smaller pen, but if I know I'm gonna go in with something smaller, then I just kind of basically use the brush strokes as the guide. So yeah, as we start to wrap up this video, these were ideas that I thought could be good. It was a little bit of a sketchbook tour because I didn't make videos of all of these, but for the ones that I did mention that I made videos, yeah, feel free to check those out. As I'm recording this, it goes by a lot faster for me because I'm in like the flow state, and I know that sometimes watching a video for like 30 minutes to an hour, I mean, that's a time investment, so I do my best to make it worth it. But I know that even if you were really wanting to watch these videos, it could be, it's still, time is the most important thing. So with that said, I mean, yeah, like I'm thankful for people who do watch it. So if you're using a brush, like that's one idea, like we were saying about like just using different tools. But this demo was about like skin tone. So I'm going to use a ballpoint pen, which I didn't use for these. I used a felt tip. So I used felt tip for this, and then like I think brush for the hair here. I mean, it's good to kind of play around. Some different pens help for different things. So I didn't use a ballpoint pen for like these other ones, but let's see what happens if I use it here, because you can get more of a, like this kind of thing, like almost like a pencil. So you might want to just go like this to lay down like a tone. So that's 5 minutes. I'll start one more just to not leave this guy blank face here. So yeah, this is like one. So I've never actually done this exact exercise here, but yeah, I was curious. So you can kind of find the this is like the mid-tone. You could say this is the mid-tone with some variations, and then because you're being pretty sketchy about it, then you can get away with like adding some like guidelines, like that kind of thing. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but you can see like how I would put in like the guideline or the like the proportions. And then I would just use this ballpoint pen to kind of do this picture. And maybe the results will show up in another video or a sketchbook tour. I mean, this was the closest I've gotten to a sketchbook tour. It's just because most of the time I'm recording like when I'm drawing in my sketchbook, so you're already kind of getting a tour, I guess. So this is, again, just an idea of what you could do. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks for joining me today. If you like these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it. And until next time, keep on sketching.